So I'd like to say thank you to everyone for coming. I see this wonderful group here. You guys are certainly passionate. You can see the passion in this audience. And to use an analogy of Assemblyman Speck, he said that he was a AAA, so that probably makes me IA, double A. I'm there. But so we want to talk about candidates and then local elections. And I've had the privilege, unfortunately, to chair the County and Candidates Campaign Committee for the last 4 to 5 years, searching for candidates, trying to articulate to them what it means to address the issues as a Democrat, and then how do we effectuate change. And often what we find is you have a lot of candidates or a lot of great people who are afraid of running for office for very specific reasons, and some not so specific. And so what I wanted to try to do, and what I've done for a couple of years, is just to write out some brief notes on what candidates or potential candidates would want to look for to determine whether they would want to run for office or not. And so as I outlined, I said the characteristics of a good candidate: articulate. Well, obviously this is pretty important. If you really want to get your message across, if you really want to, when you're having debates with someone, you certainly need to be able to articulate what it is you're trying to get across. Intelligence, well, that just goes hand in hand with articulation. You want to be able to understand the information that is coming before you. As someone who serves on the Board of Supervisors, I can tell you, we deal with legal issues, we deal with a lot of contractual issues, and no, I'm not a lawyer, may stay at a few Holiday Inns, but the kind of information that we get on a daily basis, you do need to have a certain level of intelligence to grasp the information that comes before you. It moves pretty fast. Passion. You guys in this room, I can clearly see that many of you have a lot of passion for the job. And I bet you have a lot of you in here have the qualifications to actually be an elected official. Having the passion is what drives you to want to A, be in a room like this, and 2, run for elected office. If you have passion about a certain issue, that is what really gets you to stand out of your chair and say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to run for office. And now you just need to be guided and taught what you need to do to run for a particular office. But having all those qualifications isn't the sole thing that gets you elected. There are some other things, and we've run into this as Democrats, is likability. We've run candidates who were eminently qualified, who had all the qualifications in the world, very articulate, very intelligent, and still lose the race. Why? Because they ran against a candidate who was light. Didn't have much qualifications, but that particular person was light. And so we need to pay attention to that. And I'll get into that a little more. And then we're talking about qualifications for a good candidate. Education. We're not talking about a wall full of degrees. Just that you have an educational background. That you have an educational background to where you are able to understand the information that is coming before you, and that you are able to disseminate that information in layman's terms so people can understand it. We're also looking at work experience. Well, in some cases, work experience may trump education. Your work experience, things you do in your job, things you may do in the community. Teachers, for example, make great politicians. Some teachers out there. A lot of lawyers, obviously a lot of lawyers tend to go into the political realm. But your work experience is, again, a good qualification for someone to have who wants to go into politics. Life experience. I guess I fall in this category. Right? My life experience is I'm someone who's disabled. If most people don't know, I'm legally blind. But I've also been around the block, and I've been through some discrimination lawsuits. I've been through quite a few things in the community, and it has taught me a great deal. And I've used those skills to form legislation I use those skills to fight for people in my community, and that's why I'm so passionate about fighting for social issues, people with disabilities, because of my life experience. Also, we talked about likability. So when you're running for office, if you decide that you get to the point that you really want to run for office, one of the important things you need to have is knowledge of the position. Right? You want to have an understanding. You may have a passion that you want to make a change, but you want to make sure that that particular position you're running for can actually make that change that you're passionate about. People so often they'll go in and they'll say, I want to run for this. And then when they get there, they realize you don't get to sit in on the meetings on the particular issues that are really bothering you, or that the issues that where you want to make a change. So you want to make sure you have a good understanding of what those duties are of that particular position. Understanding the municipal, so when you get to that point, you want to understand the municipal charter. And now you're at the point where you actually want to be a candidate. So you need to do a little bit of homework. You need to understand the charter. And the reason why it's important, and at all levels of government we had charters, whether you're at the town level, whether at your city level, state level, there is a charter. And the reason why you want to understand how that charter operates is it's a lot of legal language and it's a lot of jargon, but in order for you to be effective and do a great job to represent the constituents who elected you, you need to understand the tools in which you would have to use to apply to make those changes. Understand the rules of order. This is probably when you get to the point to, if you're lucky enough to get elected, understanding the rules of order is probably one of the most important things you will have to know. Because you won't be able to make any change unless you're able to operate within the rules of order. This has been a situation with the city of Hudson, where sometimes some of the legislators didn't understand the rules of order. On the board of supervisors, when you don't understand the rules of order. And the rules of order are, these rules are usually put together by whoever is in leadership at the time. They usually do it somewhere around the first meeting of organizational. They'll put the rules of order in place, and it usually takes a 3/4 vote to adopt the rules of order. Now, I've served at the city of Hudson as an alderman, and I also currently the minority leader. And you know, people don't often pay attention to the rules of order. They just think it's a by-the-way thing, and it's something that we standardly do when we get elected. Well, I paid attention a couple of years ago, and when I looked in there, I noticed where the Republican chairman was changing the committee structure. And I was like, wait a minute, no, we're not going to do this, and this is why. And he really fought me hard on it, and it is a good thing I fought it, because it drastically would have changed the way we govern in Columbia County at the particular time. So he didn't get enough votes to pass those rules of order, and those kinds of harmful changes that probably would have cost more Democratic seats didn't take place. And most people don't know that, but that's a political ploy or a political play that happens when we're in office. So once we get to the point where we are thinking about running for office, and now we are actual candidate, if you're someone who don't want to be in office, if you're someone who want to help find candidates, so you're out in the community researching and looking for candidates, so what you want to do is you want to do a background, right? And you want to understand the person who's looking to be in office. And so some of the things you want to refer to is, why did that person decide to run for office? And all too often you'll have a person run on a singular issue or no issue at all. And what happens in that particular, and I see this quite often, what happens is you burn out. Having passion is always issue driven. I don't know what those issues are for you, I know they are for me, but it's always issue driven. If you have no issues, then your passion will mean. And I can tell you, this job, you can talk to any elected official, regardless of what level you're at, town level, whether you're at the county level or state level, the job is tough. And so to get to that point to where you're in this job and you really don't have a passion for the job, more than likely your time and tenure in that particular position is going to wane as well, and eventually you will either get elected out or you will just resign, which I've seen quite often. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into getting you to the point to where you're either a candidate on the ballot or to the point to where you're elected. So you need to have some strong convictions. You need to have some issues that you're running on. You also want to hopefully identify a potential candidate's working, political experience. It's not a prerequisite that you have political experience, but if they understand some of the things that will take place, if they understand the basics of politics, it just makes you more effective. That's basically with that. And then, how does a candidate present themselves? Well, I think this is very important. And the reason why I believe this is very important is, take for example, we're in a rural county, and you are campaigning in, let's say, an area where it's a high farm area, and you pull up in your nice suit and your Mercedes. The first thing the farmer does is, look, this guy doesn't relate to anything. I'm offering here. I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I have my boots on and my sleeves rolled up, and I'm working from morning to night. So if you're not relating to the issues of the person you want to represent, and they may not know that, you may represent their issues, but if you don't look as though you represent their issues, there's a good chance that they may not support you and their friends may not support you as well, because we all know this, the farmers and the firemen and all these guys, police officers, they all talk to each other. These are fraternal orders. So you want to, if you're working with these organizations, you do want to have an understanding of how to look the part. Who are the organizations that they're affiliated with? Again, this is important. You want to know the company that the people who you want to make a candidate, you want to know the company that they keep. They could be running with some of these organizations out here. I don't want to name any, but there's a few organizations that you fully well know that you don't want to represent a candidate or who's a member of any of these organizations. And that comes up when we get into talking about people's campaigns. And so when we're looking at campaigns, we want people to understand you have to do outreach, party outreach. Now, I'm assuming that most of us in this room are all Democrats, right? But we all know that to win a lot of elections in this community specifically, but in many communities across the country, we need other people to pull the lever for us. And if we're going to collaborate, which I actually have developed that skill, I think, on the county level to get a lot of projects done over the last couple of years. And that's only because I've been able to collaborate with the party who was in the majority, right? But that collaboration started before I was even elected minority leader. I showed those parties, the Conservative Party and the Republican Party, that I'm willing to reach across the aisle and talk to you. Even in the political season, at times you may want to go and ask for their party endorsement. You may not want to ask the Republicans because you don't feel comfortable and you don't believe in their ideologies. But maybe you want to ask the Conservatives, or maybe you want to ask the Independents. Don't be afraid to reach out to other parties, because it will be very important for those parties to support you if you are to win an election in Columbia County, I'm assuming Greene County, and many of the other counties throughout New York State. The message that a candidate would have to actually win the vote. Again, this is very important. If you're a candidate and people come up and say, well, what do you stand for? And you give them this long 10-minute speech, you really already lost the person. You need to have sort of an elevator speech within a few sentences to articulate what you stand for and what you will do to get those particular points across. I stand for, again, working for the disadvantaged, the poor, and the disabled. I didn't have to make that up because that's in passion and that's in my heart. And maybe some of you guys have that same feeling with different issues, which would make you a great candidate. Also, you hear acronyms, and I heard a lot talked about, a lot of people talking about this, and that's the GOTV, get out the vote. There's probably no, if you're a candidate, there's really no other more important thing, excuse me, than the GOTV. If you can't get the vote out, you probably won't win. If you don't win, you won't be able to affect change. You know, it's that simple. So getting out the vote, and there's a lot of strategies about that. I'm myself facing a campaign right now, so I'm going to let other people talk about strategies. I certainly don't want to divulge any of mine. But there is, and in Hudson, we're pretty well versed at this. I think there's a lot of people in Hudson who have different strategies that they use, but it is very important. Using social media. This is something that I just got into myself. Now, I always knew how important social media was, but in seeing my nieces and my nephews, who are the 20-something crowd, we know our senior population is going to go out and vote, but to reach that young millennial population, you know, yeah, door-to-door works, but so often when you're running a campaign, you're getting into expenses, you want to be able to reach across and reach that demographic that you normally wouldn't reach. And I heard earlier somebody talking about the phone calls. Well, you're really not going to get a 24, 25-year-old to accept your political phone call. But you can get across to them. You can get across to them with Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, and secret. I talk to some of these younger kids, they're like, they don't use Facebook anymore, it's so old time. I'm like, well, I'm just getting out of Facebook. So we want to pay attention to that. Talk to your kids and say, what are you guys using today? And use that medium to get across to your voters. It is very important, and it is also cheap. Here's a big one for me, organized labor. I'm someone who is a huge union supporter. At the county level, I actually started a committee, the Labor Management Committee, one, to save money. Well, a big part of that was so that I could protect the rights of the workers while still being a county legislator. And it was very difficult to do. But it was also to demonstrate that I am a big union supporter. I want to support union rights, and in the same vein, union will want to support me because they know I support their workers' rights. And we as Democrats, that's a core platform issue for us. So it's very difficult. I can't imagine if we have too many Democrats that really don't support organized labor. So before I bring Zach on, and my summary is, we want, for those who are considering running for office, you should think long and hard about it, because it isn't easy. You know, I hear all too often when people say, you know, hey, you should run for office because it's only going to take a couple hours a week. Right? This is what you hear all the time. And for those of us who are elected and have a real passion that we've outlined about the particular job, I can tell you, myself, for example, I serve on 11 committees. And my job went from where I was spending 2 to 3 hours a day to I'm going to a meeting at 10 a.m. and I'm coming home at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. And then I'm typing notes. Most of you who know me, you're receiving notes from me at 2 a.m. So you're putting in way more hours than the job pays for, because you get paid little. So having the support of your family, having the support of your friends is very important. And I don't want to scare anyone away from running for office. In fact, I'm trying to get you guys to want to run for office. But I do want you to understand that if you're passionate about making a change, you're going to spend much more time as a legislator than now. And so with that, I'd like to pass it over to Zach.